Well, welcome to the Dodge a Game channel. I'm going to try to start this off in honor of Vin Scully, a little bit of Vin Scully style, by saying a very pleasant good evening to you wherever you may be, and be glad you're not where I am. I'm broadcasting from one of the most hideous cities in North America. So, having said that, get ready for the Dodge a Game channel to talk about a letter to an apostle. Going to get started with that. Another testament of Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon. And also going to make some commentary regarding comparing this a little bit, at least for starters, to the CES Letter by Jeremy Runnels that's been so instrumental in alerting people to some things that he didn't tell you in Sunday school. And we're going to take a little bit of a look at CES Letter 2.0, which is coming out now here in December. It's coming out, I guess it says in PDF, or it is available. It is available in PDF. I mean, just they're working on stuff like Kindle and maybe printing stuff up for people that are, needing that sort of a thing. And some of the criticisms of Jeremy Runnels and by Fairmormon, unfairly called Fairmormon, they've also taken a note of Paul Douglas and his work of A Letter to an Apostle. So what do we have here for differences right off the bat compared to CES Letter 1 point whatever? Mr. Douglas looks like he's getting into more detail than Jeremy was on some of the things that I've looked at so far, but I've only gotten into the first couple of chapters here. Chapter 1 is about first chapter is a bit of an introduction, and I talked a little bit about it last evening, and then we're getting in. It's about the Book of Mormon. It's about anachronisms and that sort of a thing, which was kind of what Brother Jake was about this morning. So here's, CES Letter. Here's all we got on. That's it. That's it for anachronisms and archaeology. Really, actually, I was going to talk about archaeology, not so much anachronisms right now. So I don't want to misquote anything. That's not much. However, Jeremy did make some nice quotes in there. I'm not knocking his CES Letter. I'm just saying that as far as if you're looking for detail, I think we're going to have some more detail. One of the things I mentioned in the little preview I did yesterday was that yesterday? No, it was this morning. Shit, I don't know. He mentioned Great Britain, but he got a little more detail on Great Britain than Jeremy did, I suppose. So a little bit of different aspects here. As far as there being artifacts, but actually Jeremy wasn't talking about the Britons so much. He's talking about evidence of the Romans being there in the British Isles, and apparently there's plenty of evidence there, and he mentions it there anyway. But we can't find, as Jeremy mentions here, 2 million dead soldiers. Like Paul also mentioned, and like I mentioned, 2 million soldiers plus their wives and children, so maybe 10 million people around the Hill of Cumorah, only some of them having steel swords and breastplates, of which we have found none. Okay, so we got a lot more detail in this letter here by Mr. Paul Douglas to our I know this isn't it, but I just want to look at it because this was some Brother Jake stuff, and so we're going to have more detail probably on all the anachronisms, I would imagine, too, the animal stuff, just more detail. But right now we're going to actually get into details on what's up with the CES Letter, changes and improvements in 2.0. So, Letter to an Apostle is by Paul Douglas, and we're going to take a look at that as well. So, let me pause for just a sec here so I don't waste anybody's time. All All right, back. Just do a little quick recap on the CES letter here. This is what you're going to look like when you're old if you break the word of wisdom too hard, Jeremy. You're going to look like J. Reuben Clark. No, just kidding. Okay. Because you quoted him, and he says, if we have the truth, it cannot be harmed by investigation. If we have not the truth, it ought to be harmed. J. Reuben Clark. Let's not forget to say president, because we got to emphasize that fake authority. All right, I'm already getting snarky. And snarky is what Jeremy says he's going to eliminate in version 2.0. He said he's going to change the tone. Well, I'm not going to change the tone. I'll tell you that right now. I'm going to call a spade, and that's just the way I roll. Okay, so if you want it to be sterile without any emotion, you got other choices, some good ones. And I like to listen to Vogel and Flackerman and those guys. They got some good stuff. And sometimes I'm not too emotional when I do this, but this isn't just sterile academics. This affects people's lives, and I think I'll quote my football coach from when I was a child. He said, I call it the way I see it. And that's kind of the way I do here. So Jeremy started off, as we know, telling us about some problematic issues in the Book of Mormon text. Like, why is stuff from the Smith's Family Bible in there? Why do the locations look like where he lived and they just change about 2 letters? Why do we got View of the Hebrews sound so much like it? And when we have Fairmormon knocking that, let's not forget that B.H. Roberts, Brigham H. Roberts, a 70, and a historian for the church, said, there's a whole lot of that View of the Hebrews, or it looks like it, in the Book of Mormon. There's a whole lot of similarities. So, he wasn't exactly an anti-Mormon, His name was not Gerald Tanner. Gerald and Sarah Tanner, who left the church when they were a little younger and did a lot of research. No, he did a lot of research and stayed in the church and ticked off some apostles, but he said things like Joseph Smith could have made this stuff up, actually, with a little help from his friends. So that's B.H. Roberts, people, church historian and member of the 70s. So let's see what 2.0 is telling us. Okay, so here we are. Jeremy's telling us 2.0 now is live. He's excited. New tone, new design, new paperback book. Buy one, get one free. Just kidding. Just pay separate fee. I've seen too many infomercials lately. Too many commercials on television. All right. Jeremy has softened the tone so you won't offend so many people so much by him, having feelings. Like I said, that's not going to happen with me. Today we're releasing to the public CES Letter 2.0 in paperback. All right, that's great, Jeremy. All right, now he's gonna give us some third-party endorsements. I really appreciate that he modified the tone. I totally understand why it was snarky, but this version is snark-free, so it's easier to share. If you're a wuss. Okay. Am I getting a little attitude here? Well, I've got some attitude, and I've got good reason for it, So I'm not going to apologize. Be glad I'm not using terrible language. When Jeremy wrote the letter to the CES director, he was feeling upset. All right, I don't need to read this stuff. We're going to move on down here. Onward. The purpose of the CES letter is no longer about getting answers from the LDS Church, as the Church gave its answer, which was, well, officially silence and then making a secret phone call to Fairmormon so they could talk trash about Jeremy. That's about what the truth is, okay? Anyway, the purpose of the CES letter now is to be an effective resource for honest Latter-day Saints and investigators to quickly, within hours and days, get a baseline of what the LDS Church does not want its members and investigators to know about its truth crisis. Yes, the truth is a crisis when you've built everything on a bunch of lies. It's a quick guide and a high-level overview on some of the biggest threats to the LDS Church's foundational truth claims, and a starting point for many to initiate deeper research into the various issues and problems. It is with this new focus and mission of effectiveness that CES Letter 2.0 is launched. What is different? The CES Letter is not dramatically different. Folks will still recognize the CES Letter as the CES Letter. What's different are the following. Tone. Jeremy has taken a fine-tooth comb and gone through the entire document many times to identify and change parts of the document that are snarky or hostile in tone. Hostile would be American English. Hostile might be British, right? I'm feeling hostile just looking at this. New design. Thanks to the expertise and skills of two designers, CES Letter has been newly designed for both digital and printer versions. Special thanks to some other dudes. Thanks, guys. Should I say their names? Craig Bishop and Craig Keeling. The Craig and Craig crew. Chapter, title, pages, and quotes. Quotes have been added to chapter title pages before each chapter and section. These quotes are designed to give more context and aha moments to the topic. Aha, that sounds like a Grant Palmer video. Clearer and simpler graphics. In preparation for the paperback, new graphic designs have been utilized to make a presentation simple and easier to understand. Well, hopefully, Jeremy, you've got a better mobile version, because I'm always like having to screw around with a screen. It was like made for PCs or something. You are discriminatory, Jeremy. You discriminated against my little phone. All right, scriptures, chapters removed. The scriptures section is where a lot of the tonal problems were in the previous CES letter. After much thought and evaluation, Jeremy decided that he just canned the whole thing. Why? Well, I think I know why. Because there's a lot of anti-Mormon alliance that Jeremy can have if he doesn't piss off too many Christians, which he did when he, mentioned little problems with the Bible, such as Yahweh being a complete and total psychopathic murderer, which is pretty well proven in there. And Jeremy did a nice job when he mentioned chapter 31 of the book of Numbers, which has Moses ordering human sacrifice, just of virgins. He massacred everyone else, but didn't put them on altars, and saved the virgins so his soldiers would have someone to entertain them. You know how soldiers treat virgins, right? Except for the few that they gave to the priests, 1 out of every 500, just till they did whatever they were going to do with them, and then they give them to Yahweh. Along with some animals. They were not differentiated in the mode of sacrifice. They were all given as an offering to the Lord together. The animals sacrificed and the virgins. So Jeremy, expressed that didn't seem like a very nice Yahweh. And now he's taking that off because the Christians don't like it. Well, I had a little break there for a phone call, so I'll try to have some continuity. Looks like this is where I was. So Jeremy decided to throw out the part that basically showed that the Bible has a lot of fraud in it, basically. He doesn't want to upset his Christian people that hate Mormonism, I guess. That's what it looks like to me. Mormonism, not Mormons. I'm sure Jeremy loves members of the church, just maybe not some of the brethren. But maybe he just doesn't have the hate as much as he needs it. Feel the hate, Jeremy. Let it flow for the brethren. Because they know they're lying, Jeremy. And so you're pulling punches here, in my opinion, if you take out the stuff from the scriptures. Just because you insulted some Christians, you're playing favorites here, pal. Sorry. The sections you had in there about, Numbers 31 and the God of the Old Testament just being ruthless, murdering people. The most racist, evil God in the world probably would be Yahweh. Then maybe we got Allah after that, So it's not good. It's pretty bad. And it's all about go ahead and murder people, If they're not in your church, who cares about them? It's all about the Hebrews, the Jews. Kill everybody else. Kill all the Canaanites. Take their land. Just murder them because they don't like the right God. So, how is that okay? But we're going to let the Christians go because, because you don't want to lose some of your allies, maybe? I don't know. I kind of go easy on some of the Bible stuff sometimes, but one fraud's, they're both frauds. The Romans, decided to create Christianity, invent Jesus, and the more you study, the more you can know this. Actually, you didn't say anything about that, it looks like. And then you've got the stuff about Noah's flood, and you use some, some scientific stuff that basically makes it look like be kind of tough to get a lot of animals in an ark. And I go with some little simpler stuff, like we've got history on lots of civilizations that went right through that 2344 BC, and nobody got washed away. The Egyptians didn't, the Chinese didn't, the Babylonians didn't, the Sumerians didn't, various city-states in the Middle East didn't, and we know that the American Indians were still here for those imaginary Lamanites to disappear into, because they didn't get washed away either. So why pull the punches? I mean, if you're going to play favorites here with truth, is that really, that's what it looks like to me. Sorry. You're pulling punches. The Bible's a fraud as well. There's plenty in it. Age of Reason is a great book by Thomas Paine. Points out a lot of the baloney, anachronisms, and so forth. There's plenty of information out there. Book of Mormon's a little easier to take apart because Joseph Smith really screwed up a lot. Very next verse he's contradicting himself sometimes, like, 2 Nephi 5, 15 and 16. We got all kinds of great stuff in here. We got gold and silver and precious metals and precious things, in addition to gold and silver, evidently. Next verse, we decided to build a temple like the Temple of Solomon, but we couldn't put any precious things in it because there weren't any around, except in the last verse. So the guy was drunk way too much, apparently. I mean, I'm just amazed at some of the idiotic things that he has to say. As a matter of fact, I mentioned this in that video earlier. I'm going to cruise back over here to Letter to an Apostle. Well, let's just mention, Ether chapter 15, verse 2, or somewhere in there. And it's probably on page 2. It just basically says, let's take a peek at it. Or I could just go to LDS.org, but I can't use the speech-to-text thing at this point. When I got the recording going on, Google doesn't work simultaneously with it. But if we can find it, Ether 15:2 basically says, we had almost 2 million people killed, so everybody's looking for the dead stuff and the swords and everything from the Jaredites slaughtering each other. And then after that, right after that, the same verse, after he said basically nearly 2 million people, he said, actually it was 2 million soldiers plus their wives and children. So that's like, what, 10 million people? But we can't find any of them. And how stupid is that to say, like, almost 2 million, and then he says, actually it was 2 million soldiers plus their families. How can he say almost and then in the same verse, Ether 15:2, I think it was 2, in the same verse, say that it was like 5 times that many people probably. And the wives and children, we can only estimate how many children they would probably have on average, if they actually existed. How much did the American Indians have, Oh, well, maybe I'm not going to find it here. Flipping through here. Completely ridiculous. So anyway, yeah. So Paul Douglas was doing a really good job with documenting a lot of things. So sorry, Jeremy, you don't want to insult the Christians, I guess, but you're going to have the resource a little bit better on the things that are uniquely Mormon, you said. I don't think it confused things at all. It just pissed off the Christians, and you're backing down from the Christians because you want them as allies. You know what? I got Christian people that view my stuff, and I tell them, we may not agree on everything, but, I'm sure you're nice people, and, I'm not calling you nasty names for believing stuff. I'm just saying, here's what I say. If you got a problem with it, we can talk about it. We can talk nicely. We don't have to call each other names like Islamic terrorists or some of the Christians that say, you're going to hell. Talking to Mormons, or some of the Mormons saying, no, you're going to hell because God, our Heavenly Father's restored the gospel. Look on the PBS comments. Okay. Inoculation against Mormon apologetics. In a desire to help readers and investigators to escape the Mormon apologetic house of mirrors quicker, Jeremy has added content that gets to the heart of the weakness of commonly used Mormon apologetic claims and arguments. Good job, Jeremy. So we're going to check that out. Maybe not on this video, but we're going to get to that. Because that's the kind of thing that I like to do. Show the mind control so that people can maybe get a chance to open their mind up a little bit and notice they're being lied to. So good job on that, Jeremy. You just didn't want to piss off the Christians, so I'm giving you a little bit of trash. Revamped sources and source system. Jeremy's added sources that are even more LDS friendly or neutral. Additionally, Jeremy has set up a system to where the sources are LDS friendly. So basically he's saying, let's lure the TBMs in by not pissing them off and saying mean things about the brethren and, the God of Israel who murders people, and then he's a complete hypocrite. God loves you. So what if he murdered all his children on a day when he got a little frustrated? And sends the flood and only saves 8 people. So what if he burns all the homosexual people in Sodom and Gomorrah, plus their wives and their children? They were going to be guilty anyway, so just burn the children too, right? That's Yahweh. That's our God from the Old Testament, who's supposedly Jesus Christ, and they want to call him the Catholic name of Jehovah. So he's just a lovely guy. You have to catch him when he's in a good mood. So I'm all over the hypocrisy of the Old Testament. Sorry. When a source dies, it can quickly be changed for all mediums. Okay, so you got some improved technology. All right, that's good. Epilogue with more resources to make it easier for readers. New resources such as frequently asked questions, common attacks, a centralized debunking page. You practically need this because Fairmormon people are so dishonest that they attack people and just try to use a smear campaign, which they've done against Jeremy and others. They're such liars. And on this other one I was looking at, the guy detailed, what things that Fairmormon said that were just complete lies, and trying to trying to overcome some of the things that Paul Douglas said on his letter to the apostle. He was very specific and quoted stuff that Fairmormon said that were just complete lies. Kind of like I do when I do the Gospel Topics essays, and I say, okay, here's what the brethren say. Skin of blackness is not a sign of divine disfavor or a curse, and then we just go look at Alma 5:21, and it said, so the Lamanites were cursed with a dark skin because God was pissed at them, and he made them black and loathsome so they wouldn't be attractive and enticing to the Nephites because he hates them. Well, he says he hates them somewhere else, actually, but not there. Anyway, and it was a mark and a curse, it says in Alma chapter 3, as the brethren lie to us through the essay, saying exactly the opposite. So I think it's great to source things. That was a great job. So Jeremy's going to do more of that and have a debunking page, he says, with resources. So that's great. Good job, Jeremy. So maybe I just don't agree with like trying to make like, oh, the Bible's all cool and you know, but it's the same crap, different day, okay? You know, making up the Jesus story, making up the Yahweh story. They're all false gods that lead people, you know, they practice human sacrifice. They practice animals, murder all kinds of animals, you know, because if you burn a goat, if you slit its throat and burn a goat, you make God happy, so he'll forgive your sins. What kind of crap is that? What kind of a God is like that? That's the tribal war god Yahweh, like these other bloodthirsty gods of the Aztecs and other people. Why do people think this guy's good? He's bloodthirsty, for crying out loud. And then supposedly the Romans make up this Jesus guy and he's going to let him kill himself. They'll kill him, and then God's so happy with that sacrifice by getting some of his children to murder him that, you know, he won't require any more animals. So that makes so much sense. I'm just, you know, God's such a great guy. Yeah, kill one of my children, my nicest one or something, and then I'll forgive your sins because you got to pay me. All right. Quick links to new material. So CES Letter, paperback book, you know, whatever. What's currently being worked on? I really don't care right now. You can check this out yourself. What Jeremy needs help with? Kindle. He needs people with certain skills here. Oh, and if you want to get on Facebook, you can combat the TBM trolls that have been trolling. Yep, trolling. Personal attacks against Jeremy on Facebook. So come and say Jeremy's good. That's what they're saying here. They do that. They here. Let's check this out. I'm gonna take a little. Come on, Reddit. Look at this right here on Reddit. This exemplifies this as soon as it clicks in here. Anytime now. Therefore, if you have faith, you hope for things you're not seeing which are true. Great. Well, that's not what I was looking at, so we'll check that later. But what I was looking at earlier, we will probably be able to see. Come on. It's not a hot issue anymore. What's the deal? Come on. It was such a good post. It was on ex-Mormon. And basically, gosh, I wanted to show it. Because it's what happens to me all the time, happened to me until on Mormon, until I got banned, which was downvoting. People come here on Reddit and they're like, you know, people that are believers, and they're not supposed to do it. It's totally dishonest. You know, they just downgrade you because they don't like what you said. You're supposed to upvote people because they contributed, you know, to a conversation, not because you agree with their point of view or disagree with their point of view. But that's what happens. The guys come on here, you know, that are like pro believing the brethren, and they just they downvote people so that your stuff is less popular. And it happened to me all the time on the Mormon one. I only got, you know, I always got more votes on ex-Mormon for something honest. I'm always honest about it. Than I did on Mormon. Why? Because dishonest members of the church come and downvote you. It's called brigading, and they do it. And there was a nice little post. Some guy said he's going to the celestial kingdom for downvoting stuff. I guess there's been so much posted. There's so many people that post here that it's buried at this point. Too bad. Yeah, whatever. Nephite history. Yeah, anyway, the Mormon and the ex-Mormon are pretty good here. And Latter-day Saints, look at it. Interestingly enough, Latter-day Saints participation, you know, when I look, they got like, whatever, 10,000 subscribers or whatever, but only like less than 1% are online. Whereas you look with the ex-Mormon, I've seen it between 3 and 13% of the people that are subscribed are actually on. And Mormon actually less than Latter-day Saints was. So that was interesting. Anyway, people being dishonest, brigading, downvoting you because they don't like what you're saying. rather than, for the factual content you're giving. So Jeremy's saying go help him out on the Facebook page, because people talk trash just like these guys from Fairmormon do. All right, great. So what I wanted to see here next was Fairmormon debunking. He had another little resource or page here, which was I thought of some interest. And what was it? Common attacks against CES Letter. We'll probably wind up this video on this one here, okay? Common attacks. Because this will be good commenting material here. This will be good Friday evening stuff. Common attacks and lies about CES Letter and Jeremy Runnels. Okay, so this is done by, people like he said, including and especially Fairmormon. The most unfair people I've ever, and dishonest I've ever seen, basically. All right, so here are the accusations. Jeremy is anti-Mormon. He's anti-Mormonism, probably. I don't think he's not against Mormon people at the lower end of the food chain. He's against the people at the higher end of the food chain, would be my guess. And that's the way I am. Jeremy pretends to be a Latter-day Saint, seeking answers when he's really not. Well, the CES Letter, when he wrote it originally, he was seeking answers. He was desperately trying to get answers because he wanted to be faithful. He just went on a 2-year mission, and he didn't want to think it was all for a bunch of pack of lies. So as he investigated things, that happens to us. I asked questions, and I couldn't get any good answers. I went to the bishop, and he told me, maybe Noah just thought it was a global flood, but it was probably local. I'm like, you're kidding me, right, Bishop? He's like, I know that we teach that Joseph Smith believed that God the Father and Jesus were separate individuals, but we know that that's not the truth. His theology evolved. I'm like, but you say they're teaching lies about both of these things in your classes, and you're okay with that? Whatever. So they try to say, so that means he's dishonest. I don't care if he is dishonest, and I don't think he is dishonest. I absolutely don't. But they try to create some form of something that they can say, look, he's aligned with Satan. He's being dishonest. He's not being dishonest, and if he was, who cares? All that matters is that you check the facts and see if they check out. It doesn't matter if the devil told it to you. If you believe in the devil, either something's true or it's not. And you look in the Book of Mormon, it says, Ether chapter 3 says, Brother Jared, you're the first guy that I've ever shown myself. No one's ever seen me, the Lord. And by the way, I'm Jesus and I'm the Father all at the same time. 1,000 years earlier, supposedly in the timeline, he's like face to face with Enoch. Tells Brother Jared, no one's ever had enough faith to see me. Enoch moves mountains. Enoch moves rivers. Same thing Brother Jared does. Enoch builds a city with Jesus and lives with him in Zion with all their favorite people. But that doesn't count. So he just tells Brother of Jared he's the first to ever see him. Joseph Smith probably told Fanny Elger she's the first ever girl he's ever done. Probably she was, besides Emma. Who knows? That was just the first time he got caught. Come on. The CES Letter has been debunked. Just like I was saying earlier. They addressed something, give you some garbage that said, God, said horse, but he meant tapir. So we've debunked that. Yeah, right. And then they say, oh, that's old news. We've already heard of that and addressed it. That's not addressing something. That's not debunking something. That's giving some idiotic response. Oh, it had 4 hooves and 4 legs, therefore that's what God meant. Really? Joseph Smith had a seer stone that he got everything right on, and he couldn't, get the next message until Oliver Cowdery writes down the correct meaning of it. How the hell does that work? They have to keep changing the story. Sorry. Jeremy's a Buddhist. Well, we can't trust Buddhists. Either the facts are facts or they're not. Like I said, I don't care if it's the devil that gives us these things. If you get them out of LDS scripture, Jesus contradicts himself. He's a liar. I don't care if it's the devil himself that tells you this. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. Their tactic is to smear people, so you say, oh, they're the devil. We can't listen to them. My goodness. You're deceiving us. You got the gift of the Holy Ghost, I thought. You should be able to tell the difference from your own scriptures or your own prophets lying to you in general conference or in the essays. We look at the scriptures. They're the opposite of what the brethren tell us in the essays. Who's lying? Them or us for pointing it out? Don't kill the messenger. Jeremy is the leader of the anti-Mormon religion. Is he? Well, he's got a very popular, the CES letter has been very popular. Very good. Okay? I don't think he's the leader of the religion. Is it a religion? That's a little inaccurate. Who cares? Either the stuff's true or it's not. Once again, same thing. Jeremy is an atheist. Who cares? Jeremy is obviously doing this for the money and the fame. He's a folk hero now. Are you going to start paying tithing to him? He might ask for some donations. Wow, I don't think he's getting rich. If he is, good. Who cares? The church is rich off of ripping people off and telling you got to pay your tithing even when you can't afford it and you already, made a contract to pay someone else, and they're like, screw your mortgage, pay us. Okay, Jeremy was excommunicated from the church. Yeah, he was. Why? Because he asked questions that they're not comfortable with because they don't have answers that are faith-promoting, since they got caught in their lies. Jeremy never really had a testimony. Who cares? Who cares? Is that relevant? No. What's relevant is, are they telling us the truth or are they lying to us? I prove it over and over in the videos, and Jeremy has proven a lot of things with his CES letter. The facts are what matter, not how you feel about them. Jeremy won't respond to certain apologists, so that obviously means he's been debunked. I don't know. Should we click on that one? Maybe we'll come back to it. Maybe another time. Jeremy has no class. He was yelling and being rude and disrespectful at his court of love. Court of love. That's the gayest thing I've ever heard, okay? Jeremy's sitting there trying... I've listened to at least some of it, and he's saying, I have information to present. And they're like, quiet, we're talking right now, you have to take your turn, or whatever. They lie, they say lies about him, and he's like, wait, I'd like to refute that. No, okay, I have information. They're the rude ones. The stake president is like so arrogant, makes you just want to go and smack him. Like I said, it's irrelevant. This is all calculated to cause prejudice against someone. So their whole thing is, don't listen to people that have information that doesn't coincide with the belief system we're talking about. Really? Why? Supposedly St. Paul said, prove all things and hold fast to that which is true. He didn't say just believe whatever some leaders say, okay? Not that I think he even existed, but that is sound advice compared to this. Factual, okay? Not this subjective garbage. Just pray about it. You'll feel right about it if you're worthy, like Dallin says. Jeremy refuses to acknowledge his mistakes and errors or lies, depending on source. Well, he might have made a mistake or two. I don't think he's lied, and who cares if he... maybe we should look at it. He's refuted that, I'm sure. He's refuted all of this. He's got an answer. Come look and see what it says. I'm going to look at like one or two of them, maybe. Jeremy is just out to destroy the church. He can leave it, but he can't leave it alone. Good. They're screwing up people's lives with their lives, taking their money and their time and guilt-tripping people over stuff that they shouldn't. People are dying, committing suicide. You're better to come off dead in a box than to have, messed around with a girl or a boy. If you're a girl, before you're married, you're better off dead. You might as well just, whatever. And what are you do? Supposed to kill yourself? How screwed up is that? The CES letter wouldn't have gone viral had Jeremy not put it on the internet. So? No one would listen to the news if they didn't put it on the television either. This, combined with his website, shows his true intention of destroying the church. Does it? Who cares? Guess what? That is my intention. I'll admit to that right now. I'd love to bring down the church because they harm people. They're a bunch of lying bastards that they're ripping everybody off with something that they know is not true. people at the very top. There are people in the, middle management. At some point, they find out they're stuck in a lie. Except those who were born into the right bloodlines, probably. Into the secret societies that actually run the church at the top. Jeremy set up a non-profit foundation that accepts donations. Obviously, he's in it for the money. Hey, it helps to have some financing if you're fighting something. The CES letter doesn't present faithful answers or apologetic explanations to the problems. It's deceptive. Oh, it's deceptive not to be deceptive? All the apologetic answers are is a bunch of lies. All right. This thing's trying to tell me I'm using up too much data. Means I gotta wind it up here pretty quickly. We almost through these? Alright, Jeremy has no class. There was one that I really wanted to show here because it was so funny. It was hilarious. The CES letter wouldn't have gone viral if it wasn't on the internet. Some of these are so stupid. He's got a foundation. He doesn't want to promote their lies. That's what they got Fairmormon for. That's what they got the church for. Why can't the prophets answer the questions? Why do they have to have, the Fairmormon answer it for them? Because they don't want to be accountable. Because, it just makes them look worse when you show that the apostles are lying. So they always have someone else do their dirty work. The CES letter is just a big list designed to overwhelm the reader and destroy his testimony. Great. One by one, read things, weigh them out, look at the evidence, and see what's true. What's the problem? If we have the truth, we shouldn't be afraid of it. It shouldn't be the truth that destroys the church if it's the true church, now should it? Jeremy's only goal is to get people to leave the church. I don't know. I don't care what his goals are. Doesn't matter. Jeremy advocates vandalism and destruction of church property. I doubt it. Jeremy advocates taking ward stakes Sunday school email lists and spamming the CES letter to them. I don't know. Who cares? What's wrong with spamming the CES letter to them? They can read it and like it or not like it. I'm for getting the truth out to them too. Give people a chance to see what things are. They're being lied to in general conference and brainwashed and mind controlled. Why not expose them to some truth? Anyway. That was probably a false accusation. Jeremy is not a scholar. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it reminds me of when Leo Wienerger, or whatever his name was, said, "You're not an Egyptologist. You can't discuss the Abraham letter." I'm like, really? I can read it's in plain English here. It has nothing to do with Egyptian because Joseph never translated any Egyptian. It's full of false information no matter what language he got it for. And in figure 2, facsimile to figure 7, your God has his pants off and he's all excited when he's looking at Abraham and the Holy Ghost and the two dudes. So he's gay and he's like having a priesthood interview talking about the holy priesthood keys with his pants off in a state of, looks like he's, involved with one of his mistresses or something. So completely obscene. That doesn't take an Egyptologist to figure out that's nasty. And Joseph Smith said that's God, not Pharaoh or one of their, Egyptian gods. He said that's Elohim, baby. And he's extremely perverted. Jeremy is not a scholar. Yes, that's in the Pearl of Great Price, people. It's a little bit upside down in figure 2. They turned it upside down, the bottom half of the circle. You can see illustrations with it right side up. And it's God the Father in a state of undress and erotic whatever. Yeah, that's your God. You worship that dude. Would you go and talk to a bishop about the priesthood when he's in a situation like that and looks like he got caught, being a Pee Wee Herman at the movies? That's sick. You don't need to be an Egyptologist. Like I said, Joseph Smith says that's God. So, that's enough for me to say, I'm out of here. Jeremy's just a deaf retard. Why are you listening to him? I don't think they'd say that on Fairmormon, just a deaf retard. Somebody says it, I guess. So, Jeremy basically says it doesn't matter if I'm a deaf retard. He's deaf, but he's obviously not a retard. So he said, I've made sure to source everything, so you don't have to rely on a deaf retard or his opinion or conclusions. They can verify it for themselves. And that's exactly what I'm saying here, too. It doesn't matter if he's the most... It doesn't matter if Aleister Crowley was telling you this stuff, you know? Either it's true or it's not. Don't be lazy. Don't listen to the brethren saying, it's all Satan. It's the same thing the JWs say to their people. It's the same thing the Seventh-day Adventists tell to their people. Scientology. They all say, don't listen, it's Satan on those other websites and those bad, bad books. They're trying to drag you to hell. All you gotta do is read it. Compare it like you would anything else. So it doesn't matter if they're Satan or a deaf retard. You can fact check it. And that's why I've got the videos, because I've got a lot of stuff that's verified. Make it easy for you. You can lose your testimony in the comfort of your easy chair with some popcorn and a near beer. Don't get too, don't get all sauced up. I want you to remember what's going on here. Jeremy's just rehashing old anti-Mormon lies that have been debunked long time ago. Just what I was saying earlier. They come up with some idiotic response and then say, oh, this is old. You know what? It's just like Greg Trimble. GregTrimble.com, his little blog there, when he says, oh, here's the Book of Mormon challenge, and he says, number 10, he says, the Book of Mormon has never been, there's no contradictions in it, all these years, but no. And then I'm like, but yes, Greg, it's filled with contradictions. And then we do 3 more videos after that filled with contradictions and stuff in the Book of Mormon. So, sorry, Greg, you are a liar, and you know it. Fairmormon debunked CES. No, they didn't. All they did was lie. Other questions? So, we're going to get into that other one. It's got a lot of details, and we'll take a look at this, too. Should I check the Greg Trimble one just to prove that? Let's do it. I like documenting things. So here we are on GregTrimble.com, and we're on You Should Not Leave Mormonism for any of these 5 reasons. Self on the Shelf did a nice job of these, but this wasn't the one I was looking for. I was looking for the one where he says, so you think the Book of Mormon is a fraud?
Let's watch you bring.
Well, Greg, you've brought the word fraud to a new level. Yep. And I contacted you multiple times. I went on your comment board, and then when you got on 3 Mormons, I contacted you, notified you again that I'd never heard back from you. And all my challenges to you to respond to the several videos, 4 of them, which I made on this, Greg, where you said, how could the Book of Mormon never contradict itself while being an extremely complex book? After all these years, someone would have found something, but no. But yes, Greg, but yes, it's filled with contradictions. I made several videos with your name on the top. Contacted you on your comment board and on the 3 Mormons episode you were on. You responded to other people, but you didn't respond to me, Greg. What's wrong? What's wrong, Greg? Couldn't take the heat, huh? That's what I thought. Oh, and you gave a nice talk recently, didn't you? Yeah. Well, here we are on the secondary channel, the Mormon Truth Videos channel, and there you are, Greg. There you are. Guess you haven't responded, Greg. Too much for you, huh? Several videos addressing this lie that the Book of Mormon has never been contradicted itself, according to you. And this is on the little channel. The big channel's got a lot more views, Greg. Yeah, and then oh, this is a nice one here. Your testimony of the Book of Mormon is so easy if you just forget these 33 things.
That one's got different names on the Dodger Game channel, Greg. It's also filled with evidence of contradictions all throughout the Book of Mormon. But yes, Greg, you know that you're lying about it. And then you just say these things to your ignorant viewers. It's never been contradicted. You're just as bad as the boys at Fairmormon. Completely dishonest. And there you are giving talks like, what were you, High Councilman? Giving a talk here a couple of weeks ago on High Council Sunday when I heard you were giving a talk, Greg. You're so cheesy. Such a wuss. Go catch a big one this weekend, Greg. Yeah, here we are on the Dodger Game channel, and we got a playlist here with 33 videos on the Book of Mormon, its historicity and so forth. And oh my, here comes some Greg Trimble ones. Shredding Greg Trimble's Book of Mormon Challenge, Southern California style. There's Stephen Smoot. 33 things you gotta put on the shelf to believe the Book of Mormon's true. Oh, there's Greg Trimble again. He says it has no contradictions. My. Sorry, Greg. Oh, and here we are again. So there it is. Shredding Greg Trimble's Book of Mormon Challenge, Southern California style. But Greg doesn't respond. Greg goes on 3 Mormons, but doesn't respond when I solicited your response in the comments section on 3 Mormons. You responded to other people, Greg, but not to me. What's the problem, Greg? Cat got your tongue? Maybe you're like Big Al. Can't back up your mouth. Maybe I'll show up for one of your high council talks. Like you just made. I gotta get back in. I'm missing Greg Trimble. Yeah, I sent a message to you, Greg. I bet you didn't get it. Maybe it was a little too rude. Oh well. I guess somebody was embarrassed. No contradictions, eh? Right. Well, later, Greg. Go catch